SmartB Sports Update Podcast is brought to you by Optimum CBD. For all your rest and recovery needs, CBD products are your best bet. Go to optimumcbd.store to order now. Free delivery on all orders over $99. You must be over 18 to order. I use Optimum CBD products personally for my rest and recovery. I train 6 days a week in Jiu-Jitsu, as you've probably heard on the SmartB Sports Update Podcast. I teach, I train, I compete. And without Optimum CBD products, I wouldn't be able to do it. Optimum CBD for all your rest and recovery needs.
All right, man. How you going?
Yeah, well, thanks, John. Shane Flanagan, decided to pin the defeat on the officials. That having been said, I wasn't watching the game as a Bulldogs supporter. I wasn't too thrilled about how they played. It didn't really feel like they played that badly that it didn't feel like they won that game. That's how badly they played.
That's one of those ones where people say the better team lost on the day.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. But the Dragons have won 6 and lost 11 games for the season, so I do think it's a bit rich that some of the quotes that came from Shane Flanagan in that post-game press conference, where he said it was some decisions tonight that cost us 2 competition points and could cost us an opportunity to play semi-finals.
No.
He said that was a quote from Shane Flanagan. 6 wins, 11 losses. You didn't not make the 8 because of a couple of refereeing decisions that you disagreed with in one game.
Yeah, what's it called? He's just trying to redirect from the fact that the entire year has been a bust. I watched the game. I think it was a pretty poor game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was like actually really hard to watch.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Like, you know, the two things that you keep coming round and round and round is the Flanagans and Lachlan Garvin, and it just so happened that finally we got the game where it pairs them together. Kyle Flanagan he played well. Shane Flanagan, the Flanagan though, he's just complaining about the game afterwards with some shocking, like the refereeing was really bad as well. Really inconsistent as usual. And then you have Lachlan Garvin over on the other side having an awful game in defence. I was at Subversion Jiu-Jitsu, and then we were watching it. Me and one of my friends is a Bulldog supporter. Were watching it on my phone at the same time. The Bulldogs looked really clunky in attack, really slow. All the service was really slow between the hooker and the halves. And then there was like a couple of flashes of brilliance where it looked smooth. Most notably the last try that won in the game. And that everything about that, if you break it down, was like actually really perfectly executed by Lachlan Garvin. Like Tyrell Sloan ran up like 20 metres out of the line to rush into
Silly
nowhere.
Mistake. Brain explosion at a crucial moment.
And Lachlan Garvin in that split second identified it and threw the cutout pass. And he was the connector, you know, so it was a really good try assist. Everything looked smooth and fast from just like that play, but for the most of the game, Bulldogs looked shocking. Like they are on a bit of a slump, but, you know, you want a slump before you move into finals, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. There is still time here to right the ship. Still 7 games to go before the finals. Some people are saying that's not a long time.
It's a pretty long time, man.
I think 3 games is not a long time. 4 games is not a long time. I think 7 games in the NRL is a long time.
Yeah, it's a pretty long time.
It's a fair chunk of time. It's enough time for you to be able to hit form at the right time. Look, you do have to give him some credit. He does cop it a lot, but we do need to remember that he's only just turned 20. He's, whatever you think about the way it happened, he has gone into a new team mid-season, so he's got to fit into a new system, a new structure. As a 20-year-old halfback, didn't even play halfback at his last club. So he's moved from 5'8" to halfback. He's moved into a top 4 side mid-season. So he hasn't had a whole pre-season to train with them to get used to the system and everything. It's a bit much to just expect him to just click his fingers and for it to all come together the first game that he becomes halfback. So I think he does deserve credit for that pass he threw that led to Rinakama's match-winning try. And he scored a try himself as well. And might I add that he gets blamed a lot, but a lot of other Bulldogs players weren't aiming up either. At least he did come up with the winning play. A number of other Bulldogs players didn't aim up on the night, and they seem to escape scrutiny, whereas he cops all the heat. So that's one thing that I would point out.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Like the Bulldogs' attack looked really clunky. The halves looked really clunky. It's not Lachlan Galvin's fault. Put anyone in between that position, between hooker to half and outwards, everywhere looked really clunky for most of the game. Not even that they were like going through the motions or anything like that. They just looked like a disjointed team all across the park. And then there were these flashes of brilliance. Lachlan Galvin did make a few massive defensive errors. Oh, I forgot to wear my glasses. Massive defensive errors, which one of them I think led to a try as well. But that's the story. Like, it's all Lachlan Galvin and Kyle Flanagan. Can't blame Kyle Flanagan for the loss. The loss came from Tyrell Sloan rushing up in defence when he shouldn't have, and Lachlan Galvin smoothly passing out for identifying that open man and the overlap and setting up the try. So, but as I said right from the very beginning, it wasn't a good game. Neither team looked good. There were flashes of brilliance flashes of good-looking gameplay from both sides, but the majority of the game was just a hodgepodge of mess. Shane Flanagan can blame the officials all he wants, and there were some shocking calls, but that's not the reason the Dragons are going to miss the 8. That's the most outlandish.
That's the thing. I know it wasn't Kyle Flanagan who ran out of the line, and it was Tyrell Sloan who did. But maybe if they had a decent halfback, they would have had a big enough lead where that wouldn't have been an issue. Sloan missing that tackle at the end. And so this is the thing. He blamed it all. I watched his press conference. He blamed the whole thing on the officials after the game. As I said, 6 wins and 11 losses for the season. They're 11th on the ladder. And this is a coach who's pinning it all on the match officials. Maybe the Dragons would have won more games if he didn't keep picking his son at halfback. They've now lost 3 in a row. His son continues to hold his spot at halfback. Meanwhile, the reserve grade team for the Dragons are second on the ladder. They've won 3 in a row, by contrast there. And yet Jonah Glover and Lachlan Ilias can't get a look in, even with their reserve grade team second on the ladder. As I said, they've won 3 games in a row now.
Did you say Dragons lost? Oh, yeah, because they played Parramatta. That's the only reason they've only lost 3 in a row. In the thing, that's the reason they.
Oh yeah, Parramatta was their last win. Yeah.
So even then,
they did get close against Canberra, but they lost to the Roosters, and they bombed it at the end against the Bulldogs.
They've only lost 3 in a row now, but in reality, they've lost like eight of their last 9 or something as well. So to whine about just that one game and that's the reason you're going to miss the finals, well, go back and talk to your halfback about finding a way to get through the line more, or go back and talk to your winger that left a glaring hole for the team. It was 1 minute and 37 to go. They were ahead. They had won the game.
Yeah.
And then it also came off the back of a drop ball or a penalty. I can't exactly remember. Bulldogs got field position off.
Yeah, well, it was that incident with Jacob Carraz and Luciano Leilua.
Yeah, that was it.
Where the Bulldogs were given a penalty. Originally, the referee thought Carraz had just lost the ball as he was trying to play it, but then the Bulldogs challenged the decision, captain's challenge, and then the bunker ruled that Leilua interfered. A tricky one. Probably one of those 50-50s, could have gone either way, but
I've seen the arguments. The arguments they're getting when the argument gets down to like these minutiae details of things like Leilua had his hand on his back and that was restricting Carraz from getting up, and then but Carraz on purpose put the ball onto Leilua's foot, and get over it. That one decision is not.
That's the thing. The game goes for 80 minutes. Whatever you think of the decision, even if you think the Dragons were hard done by being penalised there, you can't just pin the whole result on the refereeing. And then Flanagan did that in the press conference. And it's a way of... He's trying to distract from, people talking about his son at halfback, basically.
Yeah.
And I heard Phil Rothfield said the other night, he said, Shane Flanagan, when he looks at his son, he's not looking at him like he's any other player because he's his son. And it's like, yeah, that's the whole problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem with it. That's why you don't go and appoint a coach who might sign his son at halfback when his son shouldn't be the halfback. That's why those board members were saying, look, maybe we shouldn't sign Shane Flanagan because he might sign his son at halfback. And that's what's ended up happening, and now they've got to live with it.
Yeah, this year's over for the Dragons. And, yeah, like, the tendency to blame the ref, I think we've discussed it before. Like, I can only, off the top of my head, think of one time where the ref actually legitimately 100% undeniably decided a game with an incorrect decision, and it was that Jamal Idris, Jamie Salad Milkman, right?
Oh, like don't remind me of that.
That's 100%, because on that instance, the buzzer went, the Bulldogs...
Yeah, it was literally the final call. There was no time left in the game. Was that call decided the result of the game?
Whereas this decision that everyone's highlighting, there was still 1:37 left in the game. Dragons just had to hold out for another minute and a half.
Yeah, and if Sloane doesn't run out of the line, they probably hang on and win that game.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing, right? You can complain about the refereeing decision all you want, but that refereeing decision gave the Bulldogs attacking position. The Bulldogs scored, 4 tries?
Oh, check that.
Yeah, I think their kicking was off, maybe because they're missing Toby Sexton.
Yeah, and we'll get to him in a little bit.
Yeah, it was 4 tries.
Yeah, it was 4 tries to 3, yeah.
3 tries in the first half, and that was the only try the Bulldogs scored in the second half. So the Dragons were able to hold the Bulldogs out for 39 minutes and 50 seconds of a half. And then that 10-second error, it caused was how the Bulldogs got ahead. So whine about the refereeing decision all you want. All the Dragons had to do was continue with the exact same thing and defend, and they did it. The reason they lost is because they didn't defend the attacking play, not because the referee put the Bulldogs in a position to mount an attack. All they had to do was defend the attacking play. And yeah, like Lachlan Galvin identified a rushing winger, pinpoint target ball, cutout ball to his winger. There was an overlap. The winger was open, and he still had a little bit of work to do. He had to get around the centre. It was a straight run, but it was an angled run. Where was Clint Gutherson, like the fullback, covering the position? Isn't the fullback's job to follow the ball and cover gaps in defence caused by the players rushing up?
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah, sorry. I was
die.
just about to sneeze and then I didn't sneeze.
Don't die, because all we'll do is turn off the lights and push you out into the hallway or hide behind our desks. So, yeah, I think the main thing to take away really is Shane Flanagan is still just trying to avoid the Kyle Flanagan thing, and really the game was awful.
Yeah, that's right. That press conference, I thought it was a really poor display from Shane Flanagan. He didn't come out of that well at all. To just go, all right, I'm just going to blame the ref for 10 minutes here or however long the press conference went for. Because that was literally all he wanted to talk about. He didn't want to talk about anything else. The game went for 80 minutes and all he slimmed it down to were those 2 decisions, the one that we talked about with Kiraz and Leilua, and the other one with kick out where he thought it was a knock-on by kick out when he was throwing that pass.
Blah, 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 yeah.
So he just... All he wanted to do was talk about 2 moments in the game like that, 2 refereeing decisions that he didn't agree with, and yet he ignored everything else, including Terrell Sloane rushing out of the line, and including... obviously his son at halfback who, as I said, reserve grade, Jonah Glover and Lachlan Ilias have guided them to 3 straight wins and they're second on the table. in New South Wales Cup. And yet the first grade side have lost 3 in a row, but no, we're going to keep the same halves this week again.
The real thing is, the most important thing to note is Viliami Kikau now has a 9-0 winning record against the Dragons.
That's an interesting... that's a very interesting start.
So, one of the things everyone should take into account when doing tips is if Viliami Kikau is playing against the Dragons, he always beats them, no matter what. That's not just at the Bulldogs, by the way. It's also when he was at the Panthers. So
yeah, I'm just having a look at the Dragons team for the game against the Cowboys. Yeah, Larkin, King, Tongia, and Kyle Flanagan kept their spot in the hold.
100%.
And I think the only reason King Tonga is staying there, as we've talked about before, is because he can't drop him, because if he drops him, people will be saying, oh, well, you dropped him and you dropped Ilias earlier in the season, but you won't drop your son.
Yeah.
So the only reason King Tonga is staying there is because he knows it would be a bad look if he dropped him and not his son. In terms of the Bulldogs, just sort of moving on to that next item there on the rundown. So they've only played, of the 17 games they've played this season, only 5 of those have been against current top 8 sides. They beat the Raiders and they beat the Sharks. The Sharks are 8th. We can almost disregard that. The Sharks are not a contender this year. And they lost their other 3 games against current top 8 teams, twice against the Broncos and once against the Panthers. So this is an issue. You could say that they've had an easy draw. Only 5 of their 17 games have come against current top 8 sides. And they've only had, as I said, they've only won 2 of those 5 games.
Yeah, I think they're going to play Manly this week. Manly were lucky to get into the 8 this week, though. You know, they did have the upset win. I picked 7 from 8. I used my joker round in my tipping competition because it was the easiest tipping round ever, I swear.
The tipping is getting easier.
And then Sea Eagles almost lost it against the Storm as well. They were just scraping through with 18-16. They were up, I think, 18-8 at one point or something. I don't know, anyway. And it just came down to kicking conversions again.
And they got home on that Harry Grant giving away that penalty, attacking the legs of the kicker, and then they kicked that penalty goal to win.
Yeah, so they're only in 7th place because they're lucky. And so, actually, Mitchell Pearce has tipped the Sea Eagles this week. I think this will be the 3rd top 8 win by the Bulldogs this week, just because really the Sea Eagles are not, despite being in the top, they're not like a finals side this year, and they had the lucky win against the Storm to get into the 8. So
yeah, I think they might have a bit of a letdown after that win over the Storm too.
That was actually a really funny thing about it. One of the things that my friend I was watching that Bulldogs game with was saying is he hopes they win against the Storm when the game was on, because that'll actually make it an easier job.
They'll be complacent.
Yeah,
they're more likely to be complacent.
Yeah, whereas if they had lost the lead or Storm would come back and beat them, they might be a bit more charged up to get that win against another top 8 team. So that's one way to look at it, I guess, for confidence. But I think the Bulldogs are in the 8, right? And so that test of that stat is going to be really tested when the finals comes around. Right now, I don't think it's really testable this week, if you know what I mean, because like I said, I don't think the Sea Eagles are really...
Because Manly aren't in that top echelon.
Yeah. So when they come up against, we talked about it last week, when they come up against, they've got the Tigers next week. Yeah, the Tigers next week, and then they hit the Warriors, which is where it will really be tested. And then finishing out the season, they've got the Roosters, Storm, Panthers, Sharks.
And that game against Manly is actually at Allianz Stadium. It's at the SFS. That's to mark 30 years since they won the Premier. The Bulldogs beat Manly in the grand final in 1995. They came from 6th spot on the ladder to win the premiership that year. They came from outside the top 4 to win the premiership that year. They're the only team to have ever done that. So it's 30 years since then. That's why the game's on at Allianz Stadium. I was just going to point out, I know people seem to have an issue with Lachlan Galvin's defence, but more of my issue in defence was with Inari Tuala. Now, the Dragons, that try that Terrell Sloan, that first try that Terrell Sloan got, that came after Clint Gutherson made a line break. Now, Gutherson made a line break because Tuala didn't even attempt to tackle on him. And Matt Burton, if you watch the vision, you might think, Matt Burton missed the tackle. But he only missed the tackle because Tuala literally didn't lay a hand on him and Burton had to jump over to his left at the last moment there. So Tuala allowed that line break for that try to Terrell Sloan. And then he missed a tackle on Moses Sully, and Moses Sully scored that try. So Tuala missed 2 key tackles there that led to tries. And yet Jethro Rinakama scored the winning try against the Dragons, scored what turned out to be the winning try against the Cowboys the week before because there was 0-0 in the second half, so the try he scored in the first half turned out to be the winning try. But they were his first 2 games in first grade. His first 2 games in first grade, he scores the winning try in both games, and then and I know they've got to include Bronson Cherry, of course, but because Bronson Cherry comes back, they leave Tuala in there after those 2 terrible defensive errors and drop Rinakama after scoring the winning try in the first 2 games of his NRL career.
So one of the things about the Bulldogs is actually they do, if I remember correctly, miss a lot of tackles. And it's the scramble that
saves face for them.
Saves it, right? So where is it? Yeah, they're 7th in the missed tackle count. Which is surprising for their defensive credentials, right? They're the best defensive team.
Yeah.
By a long mile, that's right, yeah. By a really long way, like 288 against, and the next highest, I think, is the Storm. I was looking at this over, the Storm with 315.
Their defence was better earlier in the season, though, where they were holding teams to nil. It slipped a bit, but they are
But even then, during those, they missed quite a lot of tackles, and then their scramble solved them. So I guess Serraldo is kind of sees that as, this guy's missing tackles and worries more about the lack of scramble after his missed tackles. Like he has the expectation that the team will cover the missed tackles.
I just can't work out why. As I said, I went back and had a look at the, because their defence was pretty ordinary. And I went back and had a look at the replay, and Tuala missed again. Didn't even attempt to tackle on Gutherson. Gutherson makes that break, puts Sloan in for the try. Moses Sully just steamrolled him, and he keeps his spot. Obviously, someone had to go because Bronson Cherry's back, but he keeps his spot. And yet, the guy who scored the winning try in the first 2 games of his career, Rinakama's only 19 years old. It's a pretty good way to start your career. Yeah. Everyone bangs on about Galvin all the time, but look what a great start that is, scoring the winning try in your first 2 NRL games.
I'd love to see how many times in history that's happened.
Yeah, 100%.
maybe only Jared Hayne.
But anyway, I thought they've picked Tuala. We'll see how it goes this week, but I would have kept Rinakama if it was up to me.
I tipped the Bulldogs, but I said Pearcey tipped Manly. He reckons Daly Cherry Evans due for a big game because there's still some discussion over Daly Cherry Evans' contract next year. So I'm guessing that people are expecting Daly Cherry Evans to actually start coming good to find a contract.
I'm hoping with Bronson Cherry back, that'll tighten up the defence this week. I was also going to point out that after our discussion last week, Toby Sexton did actually end up playing in the New South Wales Cup.
Yeah.
And he guided the Bulldogs to a 58-20 win over Manly. Now, he scored 16 points in that game. Now, that was after, to put that result into context, the Bulldogs New South Wales Cup team lost 50-0 to the Bears the week before that game. And they'd lost 3 in a row going into that win over Manly. So I know you talked about with Lachlan Ilias how they were winning before he got back there. So sometimes it can be misleading. But this is a case of, he's gone back there and they won the one game that he's played 58-20 after they lost 50-0 the week before and they lost 3 in a row going into that game.
Yeah, someone commented on one of our videos about we highlighted last week the whole thing about how everyone's whining about Toby Sexton's stats and neglecting to point out or pay attention to the fact that he touches the ball more than any other halfback. And someone commented and said, yeah, that kind of shows how bad of a halfback he is. He touches the ball so much and doesn't get many try assists and stuff like that. But I think that just kind of reiterates the point that just because he's not getting those single stats like try assists, I'm curious do they even have the stats for New South Wales Cup?
Yeah, they'll have them. While you're talking, I'll look them up.
Yeah,
we'll have a look.
Because there's no, like I said last week, there's no try assist stat. There's no tackle break assist stat. Mm-hmm. There's no post contact meter assist stat. Mm-hmm. So people aren't paying attention to the fact that Toby Sexton is actually very good at feeding the ball to the right player at the right time for the best outcome for the team, rather than feeding the ball. Like, I'm not saying other halfbacks like try and look for line break assist to stat boost or anything like that. It's not the WNBA. But Toby Sexton is, I think, the consummate what you want from a halfback. The guy who, honestly, he's reading the game in a way that, he's feeding the ball to the correct person for the best outcome for the team every single time. And it's not giving him try assists and it's not giving him line break assists, but it's giving him those post-contact meter assists. It's helping forwards get quick play the balls, which is helping them, the team, to progress. And it's just highlighted again by how they were able to dominate so much after being so poor in the New South Wales Cup.
He did have a line break assist and a try assist in that New South Wales Cup game.
Only one in 50 tries, 50 score or whatever.
Yeah,
that's going to be the outcome of that. People see, even when there's 50 points scored, he can only get one try assist.
Yeah, 16 points. But I guess you sort of look at it and go, well, 50-0 the week before, and then they lost, and then they win 58-20 with him in the team. I think that says a lot.
Yeah. Obviously they can't drop Lachlan Galvin and they can't get rid of Matt Burton they've tricked Toby Sexton into staying around as a backup for the rest of the year.
Well, that's it. I mean, the decision's been made now. He'll continue in New South Wales Cup unless someone gets an injury. He'll keep match fit. If one of those guys goes down injured, well, at least they've got a capable replacement. At least they have depth. That's the positive way of looking at it.
A lot of people are pointing out Connor Tracy should watch his back.
Yeah, well, this Terrain Buller spotted in the crowd. But to be honest, I've got to be honest. I thought that story was a bit of a beat up. That was a slow news day. Story. I go, all right. The Tigers players add another team's game. Like, come on, who cares? It's not that big a deal. There were some in the media who tried to turn that into something that it wasn't. Yeah,
it's just funny. Connor Tracy should watch his back is a funny thing. That's the thing that has come out of all of this is, again, can you trust any of the Bulldogs staff? Are they really a family with their deep connections to each other and stuff like that? Or will, no matter what's happening, they'll just, if someone comes along that's better, they'll take them.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And I know there are people, I did say on our last podcast that, would players at other NRL clubs now be worried about going to the Bulldogs if that's what's going to happen? As soon as we find someone better, we're going to get rid of you. And I know people might say, oh, well, that's the NRL, that's the way it is, it happens to a lot of players. Yeah, it does, but maybe not in that brazen manner. The brazen manner of, this is the thing, this is not just one player being axed because the coach thinks another player is better than him. There's more to it than that. It was done in the middle of the season, and the player who was knifed had guided the team to the top of the ladder for 13 rounds. So there's a lot more to it than it just being as simple as, oh yeah, we just found someone better and we put them in instead of him. No, there are other factors there as well.
Add to that as well the blatant lies that Phil Gould said in the media. And then, you've got to really wonder. I think Phil Gould, I think he's reaching the end of his Bulldogs tenure. To the fans. I think the fans are kind of getting fed up with him because if they don't they're not successful this year in getting the premiership, there's a lot of fans already talking a lot on the internet. I know they're internet people, and they don't really matter. Their opinion doesn't matter if you only put it on the internet. But it's people are kind of getting to the end of tolerance with him, because if the Bulldogs don't get the premier this year, they're like, well, what is Gus contributing now other than getting rid of Toby Sexton and Reid Marnie? And Reid Marnie now, man, he's in some good form. It's a bit of a weird... I know we discussed it earlier in the year. He's giving away useless penalties, and it's not really the Bulldogs' way to be. But he's kind of stopped doing that too. So it's a bit of a poor one that they've gotten rid of him. North Queensland Cowboys are lucky to get him. Poor Reid Marnie. Should have gone to the Dragons and replaced Damien Cook.
And I've noticed, I've been watching him on a few sort of different podcasts and things, Gould. He's giving off this really sort of grumpy energy at the moment, where there's no positivity. He seems really negative about a number of things.
Super defensive.
And that would be one thing if he was just a media personality. I'd go, all right, well, you can be however you want to be. But he's the general manager of that football club. So he has a responsibility to the members and the supporters to be more up. But he can't just be grumpy Gus all the time. He needs to be more upbeat while he's in that role. Again, nobody's forcing him to be in this job. If he doesn't want to be in it, he can resign tomorrow. And
well, he wants his $1 million paycheck.
Oh, of course he does. Of course he wants it both ways. Because remember how he complained about, no other general manager has to sit on a panel and answer questions. That's because no other, because no one else in who has an official role with the club actually has a lucrative media contract with a television station as well.
Yes.
So, he wants it both ways, and he doesn't want to be held accountable. I would like to see them move him on at the end of the season, to be honest. I think his time's up. I think, they've got good use out of him. But, I think it's time to go to allow them to take that next step, remembering that he hasn't actually been part of a premiership win since he was coaching director at the Roosters back in 2002. That's 23 years ago now.
Yeah. But onto the Roosters.
Yes.
Now, we had a bit of gamification in my tipping comp the other day. Convincing, shout out to you, Sam, some people to change their tip from the Sharks to the Roosters. Because I think Braden Bailey got dropped was out injured for the Sharks really late on the day, maybe. No, what's his name? Trindle, maybe? I can't remember.
Oh, Braden Trindle, was it?
Braden Trindle, sorry. I think, or maybe it was Jesse Raymond. I don't know. One of the Sharks players, the pivotal Sharks players, went out injured late in the final team announcement, and so then it was there wasn't Trindle, and so then it was like I might have to change it, and might have to change my tip and so on, and convince Sam to change his tip to the Roosters. But I did mention after the game had started, by the way, Chad Townsend's in, so I don't have any faith in the Roosters. It kind of proved pretty costly, I think. I think Chad Townsend is over the hill. He was never meant to play many first-grade games, and he ended up playing a lot of first-grade games. And it really showed on, what day was it? Saturday?
The Sharks Roosters?
Yeah, Friday. His time is done.
Yeah,
shouldn't have dropped Sandon.
Yeah, Trindle and Nico Hines were the halves for the Sharks, but it was Ramian who Ramian wasn't there. Yeah, so that's right. And look, observers were very surprised that Townsend was called up ahead of Sandon Smith. Braithen Astor, watching it, said he thought, well, is Sandon Smith injured? He couldn't work it out for the life of him why Townsend got the nod over Sandon Smith. And look, Trent Robinson's actually admitted that. He's actually come out and said, yeah, look, we got it wrong. It didn't work. And look, I would point out that we are recording this on Thursday afternoon, and they have a game Thursday night against the Storm, the Roosters. So I'm just pointing that out for anyone watching us. We're talking after their game against the Sharks, and the game against the Storm is to come tonight. But they have reinstated Sandon Smith now, but that loss to the Sharks could be very costly for the Roosters. They have a pretty difficult run home. So as I said, they got the Storm tonight, Manly in round 22, the Dolphins in round 23, the Bulldogs in round 24, the Eels in round 25, the Storm again in round 26. They got 2 games against the Storm on the run home, and they got the Rabbitohs, that arch rivalry, in round 27. That's a difficult run home. So, gee, that loss could be very costly, that one to the Sharks. They've now dropped to 10th spot. They're 2 points out of the 8.
They got to win 5 more.
Yeah, I'd say because they got 8 wins, 9 losses. You probably need 13 to make sure that you make the 8. So they're going to have to win 5 of their last 7. Yeah, and with that run home, I'll run through it again. Storm, Manly, Dolphins, Bulldogs, Eels, Storm again, Rabbitohs.
Would pick maybe 2 of them that they'd be heavy favourites to win.
Yeah, so they'll beat Parramatta. They'll beat South, I would say.
Yep.
But apart from that, there are no guarantees. The Dolphins are on about their level, and Manly are on about their level.
Yeah.
So those games could go either way.
And then they got to beat the Storm twice.
They're going to have to. All right, so we'll give them the Rabbitohs and the Eels. They'll win those. So we'll give them those 2. So they need to come up with. I think we said they needed 5 wins. So that's 2. So they need 3 more from the other games. Well, they're going to have to beat Manly and the Dolphins. They're going to have to beat 2 teams who they're on about the same level as.
Yep.
And then they're going to have to win one of the games between either the 2 they got against the Storm and the 1 against the Bulldogs. They're going to have to win one of those as well. So that's their realistic path to the 8, is obviously beating the Eels and Rabbitohs. That's a given. If they drop one of those, they're gone. They have to win those 2 games. And look, they pretty much have to beat Manly and the Dolphins too. So those 4 games are must win. And then, as I said, they need 1 win out of the other 3 games. 2 against the Storm, 1 against the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I don't think they're making the 8. I can't see them beating the Storm or the Bulldogs with their current up and down form. I kind of feel like they're in a wait till next year pattern, but they still haven't bought. Like, they still haven't spent. Player market's a little bit weird right now, right? So they've recruited Reece Robson for next year.
And they will have DCE too.
Yeah, and now the thing is, like, they were going to do 2 years for DCE. Now it's changed to 1 year with a coaching role.
You sort of go, if it's 1 year, what's the point?
Yeah, coaching role afterwards.
I think it's got to be 2 to make it worth your while, doesn't it? If it's 1, what's the point?
But his form is so poor that they were actually like trying to back out of it and stuff. Like, nothing's been signed, but Nick Politis doesn't go back on his word, kind of thing. So I get the feeling that they were going to give him 2 when his form was good at the beginning of the year, when he had that whole television thing, and then since Origin his form's been poor, and they actually don't want him anymore. But Nick Politis doesn't back out of his word. So they've just gone back to him and said, how about we do 1 year and then a coaching role afterwards? How about that? Like Chad Townsend style. Chad Townsend, we've got him. He's played a few games this year, mate. How about we give you that same kind of deal, yeah? Yeah? Sound good to you? And DCE is mulling that over. And then when it comes down to it, Matt Lodge went through this same kind of thing with Manly where he tried to go around and find himself a new club and then ended up going back to Manly for a small contract. DCE might be in that boat as well. But they've already signed Fogarty. Yeah,
they have, yeah. Yes, as I say, they're in 10th spot on the ladder, 22 competition points. They've lost 2 of their last 3. And that's the other thing I mentioned. They are 1 win outside of the 8, but they have an inferior points differential to the 3 teams above them as well, Manly, Cronulla and the Dolphins. So that loss to the Sharks could prove to be very costly, and now we're getting into unrealistic territory for making the finals for the Roosters.
Yeah, they're not making the finals. You just can't see it.
Realistically, no.
Yeah. Yeah, well, sucks to be a Roosters fan. Over to Lewis Dodd, the $2 million mistake. See,
Yes.
we've talked a few times about Lewis Dodd this year and how little he's played. So he's finally been named as starting halfback.
Yeah.
One of the quotes I read is he's been labelled a $2 million mistake because they paid him $2 million. $650,000 a year.
Yeah, it's a 3-year deal. Yeah, that's $2 million across 3 years. Yeah.
And then one of the quotes I read, like, maybe he's been signed because he kicked the match-winning field goal in that the Super League Grand Final last year.
The World Club Challenge.
Yeah, World Club Challenge, against the Panthers. And so maybe he was signed just based on that.
Yeah, so that was in 2023. They St Helens won 13-12 over Penrith, and he kicked the match.
That's annoying because he went on to win a Super League Premiership after then, I think, right?
I'll check that.
Again, for the second time? He's...
So that was in 2023, that match-winning field goal in the World Club Challenge.
He won something else after that.
Let's have a look here. So he did play in a premiership in the Super League, but that was in 2021. So,
but what did his team do in 2024?
Well, yeah, that's the only premiership he's played in 2021. So, but yeah, that match-winning field goal in the World Club Challenge in 2023. That 13-12 win over Penrith. And yeah, there was talk that, did the Rabbitohs just literally look at that one field goal and then sign him to a $2 million deal, and they were even saying, it's the $2 million field goal.
But who knows? Because they haven't played him.
That's the thing, and they're saying that they don't think he'll be there next year, but he's not going to want to walk away from this contract.
Well, they'll have to
because he's not going to get anywhere near. I mean, the thing is, if he goes to another club, the Souths are going to have to pay him some of the salary because the other club is not going to cover his whole salary. So if Souths want to move him on, they're going to have to pick up part of the tab on his contract. Because, he's certainly not going to be walking away from a $2 million 3-year deal, that's for sure, after 1 year.
But how do they even really know? What is that buzzing noise?
Yeah, there's a buzzing noise going on at the moment here.
How do they even know? Because he hasn't played. And now he's been named a halfback. The funniest thing in the world would be if he... the Rabbitohs went on a winning streak for the rest of the year with Lewis Dodd at halfback.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Imagine they win every game the rest of the season.
Funniest thing in the world. And have the suddenly have they're scoring 40 points a game. But Latrell Mitchell's out for 4 weeks as well.
Right, I mean, is he even going to bother coming back this season? Or you wouldn't?
Yeah, out for 4 weeks. He's
out for 4 weeks, and they're not going to make the 8. You sort of go, or what, does he just, come back next year again?
Yeah.
But you talk about Latrell Mitchell, he only plays 14 games a season. He's played 85 games in 6 seasons at South. So he's going to miss 10 games every year. So that's another issue with their recruitment. You're talking about Lewis Dodd. He came off the bench in 3 games and started at 5/8 in the other one in his 4 previous NRL games this year. So yeah, his first start at halfback, 3 games off the bench, 1 at 5/8 before this game. Finally gets that start at halfback in that game this week. But they have over $6 million of players out injured at the moment, the Rabbitohs.
Oh.
You mentioned Latrell Mitchell's out injured. Cameron Murray, Keon Kolomatangi, Campbell Graham, Cody Walker, Brandon Smith, Davi Mawali, Peter Marmazelis, Jamie Humphreys, Jaden Sullivan, Michaeli Ravalawa, and Bailey Bentley Harpe. They're all sidelined. That's combined over $6 million in talent sideline. So
we
do have to bear that in mind.
Ravalawa one is quite sad because he's on loan.
Yeah.
They took him as a loan from the Dragons because they had injury issues.
Yeah.
And it was all approved and he was going to get a run and then he goes over there and gets injured. So even in their loan player to cover injuries has been injured. They are in a bit of a shocking state at the moment. This is obviously a write-off year for them with half their team injured and all of their superstars. And Lewis Dodd finally gets his chance.
But yeah, normally Wayne Bennett's teams still find a way with players injured, but That's not the case this year.
I don't think they have the roster. Like, his teams normally have the roster to do it. They normally have someone who, no matter who gets injured, can come in and fill the exact same spot.
That's true. I guess he was coaching a Broncos side for a while. That was the Australian team. So if you have a roster of that quality, if there are a bunch of injuries, you are able to cover them.
When he was at the Dragons, everyone's job was really, really clear. And, that guy goes... Like, even, Beau Scott was playing centre to back up Jamie Soward. He got injured and Neville Costigan filled in exactly the same, like a back row playing the same game, just simply to defend Jamie Soward. Not even to defend against tries, to defend Jamie Soward, So he normally has someone who can fill the exact same role or someone who can accommodate, but I don't think the Rabbitohs have the roster to do that. So unfortunately, he's just on this losing streak basically, and this is a write-off year for him. He's just going to try and avoid the wooden spoon. Don't worry, the Titans are going to win it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, you would like to see... I would like to have seen them give Lewis Dodd a bit more of a go. That's the thing. He just hasn't been given enough of a run. That's the thing. You don't... Like, the people, they were saying on NRL 360, it's a $2 million mistake, but you don't even know. I mean, he hasn't even been given enough opportunity to know whether it's a mistake.
How do they know? He hasn't played. He hasn't played half-back, which is his spot. He's come off the bench a few times, and played 5/8 once in a team that is not where everyone is injured.
That's the other point to make. I just went through it. They've got over $6 million worth of players injured. So it's, that makes it even more bewildering that this player on a $2 million 3-year contract is just being cast aside, even in a huge injury crisis. That's the thing. You can't afford to leave. So he's on, $650,000 a year. Even at the best of times, you can't afford to leave someone on that salary in reserve grade, let alone when you have $6 million worth of talent on the sideline.
Yeah, so I think people are being a bit harsh to Lewis Dodd. I have no idea if he's good and if he's going to be good in the NRL, but nobody does.
This is the thing, and there's every chance that after this week he'll get cast aside again if one of those other players comes back. I'm not sure how long Humphreys is out injured. I might look it up, but
I think it was
once Humphreys comes back, maybe Dodd will be sidelined again, but I'm going to look up.
Lots of clubs need halves. Well, Des Hasler could probably take him because Des Hasler needs to do something aside from yelling at his players in the shower.
Yeah, well. Humphrey's not on this NRL.com casualty ward, but anyway, he is out injured at the moment.
I think it was 3 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that.
Anyway, we'll see what happens with Lewis Dodd.
Yeah, like I said, what if they go on a winning streak now with him there at halfback? Well, I think Wayne Bennett would still drop him again.
yeah, probably.
Because he just seems to hate him. Lewis Dodd must have slapped Wayne Bennett's sister or something like that in a past life. Anyway, we'll talk about Des Hasler.
Just lost it, didn't he? Lost it. You could tell that was just frustration that had built up over a number of weeks.
So they were beating the Tigers. I was so upset because, like I said, I used my joker this week in my tips. I almost went for a perfect round. Stupid Manly. And almost stupid Tigers. So the Titans were winning. Yeah. And then Tigers scored to level the scores, and Adam Dewey missed the field goal, the conversion to win the game, and then ended up kicking the match-winning field goal. Mm-hmm. And Des Hasler had a classic Des Hasler spray in the change room. Now, if you watch the footage, I agree with every single rugby league pundit, media personnel. They got to remove those cameras from the changing room. They were added only a few years ago, and I think they need to get rid of them. Like, it's just... It actually benefits nobody having them in there. And, we used to hear, oh, mate, Desi gave us a mighty spray, but I don't think anybody really wants to see that or needs to see that. Watch that footage, and it's quite somebody's going to get sued if that was a normal job. But, apparently lots has come out about it. There's a whole bunch of conjectures. So something like he'd already given him a spray, so a bunch of players went, all right, I'm going to have a shower now. And then he decided it wasn't enough because they hadn't that hadn't affected them enough. So they called them back out of the shower. And then other people are saying it was all an act for the cameras because he knew the cameras were there and all this kind of thing. I just think they should get rid of the cameras.
Yeah, David Fafita and Cleese Haas were among 5 Titans players who he gave the spray to. So, maybe on the other hand, maybe David Fafita deserves a spray. I mean, he continues to not aim up week after week.
He's an Origin player, right? He played Origin?
Yeah, he has in the past. I need to look that up. The specifics of it, but he has played Origin.
Yeah, well, that's how good he was, and he went on to big money to the Titans, and has not lived up to it.
Yeah, he played for Queens. Played 8 games for Queensland.
Yeah, 8 games is no small amount, to be honest.
That's right. I think this is a. Unfortunately, it seems as though he's going to coach his 500th game in the NRL this weekend, Des Hasler. And it seems as though it could be his last game. Especially if they lose, it may be his last game. He may be sacked after the game.
Titans own. So I think it's a lot of it's getting to him because the Titans ownership structure changed recently. Because it's privately owned, it was owned by like 3 families or something, and one family bought out the other 2. I don't know. I don't care enough about the ownership. I think it's not even newsworthy. But straight after that, there was media reports that Des Hasler would be retiring at the end of this year. And then he's come out and said it's not true. One thing you don't want to do as a club is fire Des Hasler early because you know you're going to get sued. And we discussed that multiple times. This is his last club because no club is going to take him because they know they're going to get sued.
Yeah, and I did hear reports that he apparently... make of it what you will, but apparently he's saying that he's not going to do that this time. He's not going to.
Well, if you get sacked early, I'm sure he will. I'm sure after he sued, who did he sue first? Manly, right?
Yeah. That was when he went to the Bulldogs.
He went from the Bulldogs to Manly, right?
He went from Manly to the Bulldogs and then the Bulldogs.
Yeah, he sued the Bulldogs first,
but
then he went to Manly.
I think he sued. There was some issue with Manly the first time as well.
So yeah. I'm sure when he went to the Bulldogs the first time, he said, don't worry, I'm not going to sue you. And then when he went back to Manly after that, he went, don't worry, I'm not going to sue you. And then when he went to the Titans, he said to them, don't worry, I'm not going to sue you. But what's the George Bush thing? Fool me once, a fool that made you a fool, or whatever it is.
Yeah, as I say, make of it what you will. Yeah, that's what they're saying, but I'll believe that.
He's got 1 year left, and you don't want to sack Des Hasler early. So... I don't think there's a solution to the Titans. The Titans are just the Tigers. I don't think there's a solution. They've changed their coach 45 times. They've put young up-and-coming coaches in place. They've put, mass super coaches or whatever. I think Titans fell apart with all that money laundering stuff years and years and years ago with, what was the guy, the founding CEO, Michael Searle? Had some money laundering issues or misappropriation of funds issues or whatever. And since then, they've just never recovered.
Yeah, and I've said it before. I think the problem is because they've never had any success, really, in their 18-year history now.
I think they made the finals.
When I say no success, I just mean, I know they might have made the finals the odd time, but I mean on the whole.
Yeah.
They haven't had a sustained period of success, no premierships in their first 18 years. And I think the problem with that is that because they've never won anything, there's no real standards at their club. And I think the fact that they're on the Gold Coast, it's a party destination. I think players go up there to get on the drink and enjoy the nightlife there. I think the players go up there for a bit of a holiday, and because they've never had any success, there's nobody really laying down the law to them. There's no Craig Bellamy up there saying, no, listen, you're not going out to the nightclubs this weekend. We've got to knuckle down here. There's no Craig Bellamy type there.
Yeah.
Because they don't have that culture there. As I say, they've never won anything, so if they just keep losing, well, it's just status quo, It's no big deal because they've never won anything.
That's the thing with them, right? So they came around in 2007 with John Cartwright as their inaugural coach. They missed the finals the first couple of years. 2009, 2010, they got into the finals and they were on their rise. And then it was around the 2011 that all the off-field drama started happening and they got their wooden spoon, and then 11, 12, 13, 14, they missed the finals. So they sacked John Cartwright.
And no finals appearance since 2021.
They did that's right. They did 2021 once. And so
but that's that's their only. So since 2017, that's their only finals appearance in 2021. So that's only one finals appearance since 2017.
And it's just that thing, like their lack of success comes from something that happened years and years and years ago. And the salary cap breach. That was the other thing they had. They had a salary cap breach, and then they had the disastrous years, and they can't correct it. It's going to take massive. In all of these situations, what you want is, for every club, Tigers as well, what they need is a Trent Robinson coach to bring in Sonny Bill Williams, James Maloney, Michael Jennings, and that's to turn everything around. And it's really hard to find that perfect formula of people you can sign in that way to turn everything around. Trent Robinson, hard-nosed coach to get rid of the party culture, which is what happened to the Roosters. They were wooden spooners and stuff like that. Trent Robinson comes in, hard-nosed coach, get rid of the party culture. James Maloney, who's a winner, like he just makes not only is he a winning player, he makes the other people around him winners. Michael Jennings, the superstar X Factor, and Sonny Bill Williams, the absolute professional player who sets an example and expects everyone to follow it. Yeah. That formula is like impossible to find. Turn the Roosters around immediately, and that's what every club tries to find. They bring in Des Hasler at the Titans, winner. They bring in high-level, high-value players like David Fifita and Big Tino on big money, expecting it to turn the players around, and unfortunately they go the other way.
And it's a real shame that Des Hasler's coaching career is going to end this way. He had a great record earlier on in his coaching career. I think it was between 2005 and 2016, those 12 seasons. The team he was coaching made the top 8 every year for those seasons. And he coached Manly to premierships in 2008 and 2011, coached them to another grand final in 2007. He coached the Bulldogs to grand final appearances in 2012 and 2014. So between 2007 and 2014, those 8 seasons there, his teams made 5 grand finals. He made 5 grand finals in 8 seasons there. But now it just seems like it's all fallen apart. Maybe he's from a bygone era. His methods are maybe outdated now. But at least he's going to get his 500th NRL game. He may not get to 501 though, by the looks of it.
You reckon they're going to sack him?
I think if they lose this game, I'm pretty sure it's against the Warriors. Yep. They lose the game to the Warriors, I think he could be gone straight away because there's that clause in his contract where for this year where they as soon as they mathematically can't make the top 8, he can be sacked. And I think they're already at that point. Wow. But he's one game away from 500 games. I think they sort of figure, look, let's give him the 500. But I think if they were to lose to the Warriors, then, to be honest, I think he might be gone. And by this time next week, we might...
You'd have to say he's going to lose to the Warriors.
Well, yeah. So, so this time next week, we might have a big story to talk about.
I don't know who the assistant coaches are in, what's it called? The Gold Coast. But, it's... Write off the year. A lot of clubs are just writing off this year now. They're at the point where they've just got to write off the year and that's it.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's sort of down to 10. It's really only... And even a team like the Roosters who they're still in contention, but we've already talked about even their chances are very slim of making the 8, aren't they? Let alone the teams below them. Yeah, so it's it's a 10-horse race now. You think the Dolphins and the Roosters are the only two from outside the 8 who could come in, but as we said, the Roosters now, after that loss to the Sharks, they're in a real spot of bother, and their chances are dwindling. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Oh God, on to more coaches. Adam O'Brien, I don't understand how isn't the favourite to get sacked. Des Hasler is. But the Knights aren't in any good place, but they reckon he's not going to get the sack this year. They're going to play the bloody Raiders this week and get smashed.
Yeah, that's Michael Carianis of the Daily Telegraph saying that he's not entirely convinced that they're going to part ways with Adam O'Brien at the end of the season, and he seems to think it's because they're actually still putting up a fight in games. Now, gee, they got beaten on the last play against the Warriors. That was heartbreaking. Even as someone who didn't care who won, you still felt sorry for the Knights. Just that last play.
I cared. My tips were really important. I used my joker rounder, right?
Tipsters care. Yeah, but to lose like that with Leka Halasima scoring that try, it was literally on the last play of the game. There was no time left on the clock. And he went on that charging run downfield and got there. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They had it in the bag.
Off a kick charge down, yeah.
And they were up by a point. Yeah. And it just gets taken away from them. Snatched from their grasp.
They were doing, all of them were thinking, like, please find something wrong in it. Please, bunker, disallow that try. Like, what can we do here? Yeah. They tried so hard to stop him from scoring, but Adam O'Brien and I think the Newcastle Knights, we're probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but Newcastle Knights fans are stat chasers, right? What they do is they justify their failures by going, yeah, but we've made the finals 4 times in the past 7 years, also 4 times in the past 11 years.
And let's remember that they've only won one finals game under his watch, and that was that game against the Raiders in 2023, and then they got pumped by the Warriors in week 2.
Yeah, but like the Knights' justification for keeping Adam O'Brien, and Knights fans won't remember that. That's people who actually pay attention to the reality of the situation. Then they'll say, like, we only lost, 4 games this year. We lost like 4 or 8 games this year by less than 4 points. If we had been able to score a try, we would have been in the 8. But then neglecting the fact that they got pumped by 50 in one game or by 20 in all of their other games and that kind of thing. They really are stat chasers, stat padders for justification for their failures.
Yeah.
I like the Knights, man. I look at players, like a lot of the old Knights players are really, really passionate, and you can see how upset they get about it, and it kind of like tugs at your heartstrings about how, like, when was the last time they won a premiership? 2000.
The Knights, 2001.
Yeah, 2001.
With Joey Johns, yeah.
And they haven't looked close to doing it since then. They're also another club that needs a shake-up, but there's just no way to shake it up,
Yeah, of course, they had that great win in 1997, the ARL Premiership, where obviously, you'd put probably that together with 2015 as the two best grand finals in recent times. Of course, a lot of people talk about 1989 as well, but I'm too young to remember that one. But yeah, those are the 3 that people talk about: 89, 97, 2015. And yeah, the Knights, that was a golden era. The Johns brothers, Chief Harrigan. But those days are long gone. They haven't been the same team. And you talk about how the Australian cricket team was never the same after Glenn McGrath and Shane Warne retired. Well, the Knights were never the same after Andrew Johns retired.
Yeah. And everyone's got to remember when they're doing these justifications for Adam O'Brien, next year Dylan Brown's coming there on a $13 million deal. So, is that really going to be the thing that saves them? I saw an article that said, maybe they should move Kalen Ponga. Someone was saying maybe they should move Kalen Ponga to 7. If that is the desperation you're looking for, dude, that's not your solution. Adam O'Brien walks a knife's edge every year, and he's fallen over the other side. If they don't get rid of him this year, well, there is a big payout coming on him if he goes early, but it's one more year on his contract after this year, right? Or two?
No, there's two more. So this year and then two to go.
It's a $2 million payout.
He gets the payout if they sack him. It doesn't actually feel. It doesn't actually really set the stage for a potential new coach to come in, does it? This Dylan Brown 10-year deal.
What are you going to do with
That's not really what you want to be walking into if you're the new coach. It's sort of like you're starting off with a handicap or something. Oh, yeah, you're an NRL coach, but you got Dylan Brown on a $13 million 10-year deal. It's not...
Almost the highest paid half in the competition for the next 10 years. And you're stuck with him, bro.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I think that one thing I was going to say about Adam O'Brien, and it was pointed out during the week, is that he really doesn't handle those press conferences well, does he? He really looks like he doesn't know what he's talking about at the press conferences. He's not a good public performer. He's not a good public speaker. And it's easy, and you can't blame people for sort of thinking that he just doesn't know what he's doing or he doesn't know what he's talking about. Because the only times that they see him, well, that's all the public sees, is when he does his press conferences. So you can only really judge him on that. And if you think he's a space cadet when he's doing his press conferences, well, then you think he's a space cadet. We don't see him behind closed doors.
He kind of reminds me of Matty Elliott.
A little bit.
It was always a bit weird.
A little bit, but I feel like Matthew Elliott looked like he had more of a clue what he was doing.
Yeah, just in his press conferences and stuff. That's what he kind of reminds me of. And when Matty Elliott was there, you'd see all that weird footage of the players staring deeply into each other's eyes as a game preparation thing and stuff like that. And that's what Adam O'Brien reminds me of. Matty Elliott also spent a lot of his later career walking that knife's edge of will they, won't they, every year. And he just reminds me of Matty Elliott. And it's going to take someone, if you remember, Gus Gould walked into the Panthers and sacked Matty Elliott and 48 other coaches in his short time there.
The only difference I would say is Matt Elliott got gigs at a few different clubs. I can't see O'Brien getting a gig at another
Surely he'll
club.
Just go back to being an assistant coach.
I would say so. And you know what? Maybe he's better off being an assistant coach because he's not... the head coaching job, it's not for everybody. There's a lot of extras on top of just being a football coach that go into that job.
There's a few that are like that, like Jason Taylor wasn't the best assistant coach, wasn't the best head coach, but is a really good assistant coach. Apparently, by all reports, Trent Barrett is a really good assistant coach. That's why he keeps getting jobs.
Yeah.
And then they make the mistake of putting him in...
It's just not for... And Trent Barrett was another one who wasn't a great public speaker.
No.
Some of them are just not... Adam O'Brien, Trent Barrett, they're just not great public speakers. They're not great in the shop front window. Yeah. And that's all right. Not everybody... It's not for everybody, that job.
Yeah. Exactly.
But maybe like Trent Barrett, Adam O'Brien might find his calling as an assistant coach is more to his liking.
I can think of a few other head coaches that might be better off as assistant coaches, like Anthony Seibold.
He's probably another one, and Seibold's another one who he just doesn't strike you as being. This is the thing with O'Brien and Seibold, both of them. They just don't strike you as being really confident in themselves.
Yeah,
you feel like they're not.
Yeah,
they're not self-assured. Those two,
and you want them to be.
You're 100%. You just feel like they're uncomfortable in the position that they're in.
Yeah,
I don't know why you get that impression.
I totally agree. It's a good way to put it. It's just that, but you want your coach to be fully confident in all their decisions and everything they say. Yeah. Even when they're losing, you look at Shane Flanagan. He's super confident about what he's saying. Yeah, and even though everyone in the world knows he's wrong.
And you don't want to do what Anthony Seibold did and just say, "Oh, look, it's all right," because at the end of the day, everybody's going to die someday.
So you think about it like that, right? I have a saying that I sing to my kids when they're arguing with me when they're wrong, believe what you want to believe, even though you're wrong. You have to be super confident to believe what you want to believe, even though you're wrong, right? And that's what, Shane Flanagan gives you that. He's a good example of the opposite, He gives you that impression no matter what, he will believe what he wants to believe, and he will tell you.
Yeah, that's the thing. He was delusional in blaming the referee, but at least he owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to Anthony Seibold and Adam O'Brien, who look like they're like, I don't really know if I believe what I believe, but I'll just say it anyway, and we'll see how we go. What do you guys think? But you really want that confidence from a coach.
Yeah, you don't want them pulling out the, everybody's going to die, so it doesn't really matter card, do you?
You really want them to think everything.
Because that card can be pulled out on anything.
That's, you kind of sometimes want your Des Hasler tantrums. I just don't think they should be in the public eye. Those things
I reckon that was Des going, I know I'm done, but I'm giving you one for the road here, boys.
Like that's the kind of thing where, if there was HR in rugby league.
But there's not. It's a good thing for Des Hasler there's no HR department in these rugby league clubs. Because none of the clubs have HR departments, do they?
No, they're all contractors.
Yeah.
So they're not...
So they're all... Aren't they all... You might have mentioned this. They're all actually casual employees.
Yeah, they're contractors. Right?
Yeah.
They all have...
Yeah, so they're not actually full-time staff. Yeah. They're not... Yeah.
So it's a little bit something else,
Yeah, it's just from a different world. It's not...
I know that it's not as bad as, Uber, who constantly gets fined in different countries and cities because they treat their employees like actual full external contractors that don't work for them. So they're not our employees. But it's fully whatever they can do. That's why they have a collective bargaining agreement and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's it for rugby league for the week.
I was just going to mention one other thing. It was a head knock that's ruled Jamie Humphries out of that game against the Sharks. So Lewis Dodd, it may only be. It may only be 11, one. It may only be.
He's up for 11 days, right?
Yeah, so it may only be 1 week that Lewis Dodd gets at halfback. Okay. I'm sorry to say.
What if they win? I reckon even if they win by 50, Lewis Dodd will still get dropped.
Woke up this morning after 2 hard training sessions. Oh my God, I have so much washing, and boy, does it sting! But luckily, I have Gourami Cleaning Courage Gear Guard, Clear the Funk, proud sponsor of SmartB. I've tried all of the ones that are around, and they're the ones that I suggest. They leave my clothes after training smelling like nothing. They don't do this thing where they smell like chemicals or flowers, and they don't advertise themselves as being a washing powder replacement. Instead, you add 1 cupful to your laundry, and off you go. Head to GouramiCleaning.co and buy yours now. GearGuard is a proud sponsor of the SmartB Sports Update.
Over to the cricket. I put the wrong time. The West Indies tour is still going. And it's moved on to the T20, and as expected, Australia just dominated in their opening 2 matches. And when's the last one? Tomorrow?
So the next one is on Saturday at 9 a.m. our time. One good thing about it is that these games are, because they're at night over there, they're actually on at watchable times here. They're sort of 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. They are on at a good time.
But not on free-to-air, right?
No. They're on ESPN. So that's a problem.
I scrapped all of my subscriptions because it became too many. I now subscribe to nothing.
Yeah.
And just live with, the pub. Or Channel 9.
Yeah, so, Josh Inglis, the keeper, hit 78 not out. Australia won by 8 wickets. That second game, so Australia's won that second game, as I said, of this 2020 International Series. They've gone 2-0 up in the 5-game series. Next game Saturday morning.
And next month they come back to Australia.
I need to look at this. I need to look this up.
South Africa's coming to Australia.
I need to look this up because I know that the next Test cricket, which is what I'm more interested in, to be honest, is not until the Ashes in the summertime. But let's have a look here at what their fixtures are. As I say, they're 2 games into this 5-game 2020 International Series. And let's see what comes after that. Another 2020 International Series against South Africa.
In Australia.
Yes, that's up north. That's in Darwin and Cairns. And then they got an ODI series after that against South Africa. So the 2020 series against South Africa is 3 games, and then there's an ODI series against South Africa that's 3 games, and then there's a 2020 International Series against New Zealand that is 3 games, and that's in New Zealand.
Yeah.
The ODIs against South Africa, by the way, they're in Cairns and Mackay, so they're going up north for those games. 3 2020 internationals against New Zealand in New Zealand. And then we come back and we get into the summer here. So Australia and India, 3 ODIs. They're in Perth, Adelaide and Sydney. And then the 2020 internationals. It's a 5-game 2020 international series against India. That's in Australia. That's all around Australia. And then we get into the Ashes. So that's the schedule.
I'm happy to report, it's not on the rundown, but we're in cricket. Next year they're bringing back the men's T20 World Club Championship.
Oh, right, okay, yep.
So there's ICC, Indian cricket controls international cricket, and it's an IPL enforced thing. So international cricket has accepted their desire to do it. So there'll be less international cricket next year because it's like BBL, IPL, South African League, blah blah, will all send their. It's a little bit weird. I'm waiting for more information about it, but like actually one of my friends was pointing out, all of the same players play in all the leagues.
Yeah.
So how are they going to do it? I don't know.
I would like to see. I think I've said it before on here, but I would like to see. I don't like these 2020 international and ODI series, these meaningless series. I think 2020 internationals should be reserved for just the World Cup. Same with ODIs, just the World Cup. That's it. And then around that, obviously, you got Test cricket and 2020 franchise cricket, like you just mentioned. So IPL, Big Bash, etc. Caribbean Premier League. I could go on and on. There's that many leagues now.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. I think that's where the excess cricket is. There's too many international 2020 and ODI series that are meaningless outside of the World Cups. Those 2 formats at international level should just be World Cups, and have one every have a 2020 World Cup, 2 years later ODI World Cup, 2 years later 2020 World Cup, 2 years later ODI, and just go in that sequence. Have one of them on every 2 years. That's how I think they should do it. There's far too much meaningless international cricket in those limited overs.
That's the thing, right? So apparently, I know a couple of people who are fully into cricket and love the conspiracy theories. It's just the ICC trying to generate enough income. So
it's money.
They enforce a lot of international cricket.
That's the thing. What I'm talking about is a perfect world scenario, and we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world where money rules the world, and so they'll make decisions for money.
The IPL, Big Bash League, the 100, Caribbean Premier League, Pakistan Super League, the Major League Cricket, American one, South Africa 20, Super Smash T20 from New Zealand, the Lanka Premier League and the Bangladesh Premier League all send their champions from this year to compete in a competition somewhere. 10-team blockbuster championship, and it's reduced the number of internationals next year across all forms apparently.
So I'm hoping that means less of those meaningless internationals in the limited overs format.
Yeah, that's what it's meant to do.
Yeah, and I'm in favour of that big time because, in 2020 it needs to just be primarily outside of a World Cup. It needs to just be a franchise game.
Yeah, and
that's what it is.
Basically, every country's cricket board is wanting to make an IPL, and so they put pressure on the International Cricket Committee or whatever the hell it's called to allow them to, and then the Indian cricket IPL people have put pressure on them to push that. So that's what you're going to see, more domestic T20 type stuff, which is where the money is for the funding of the international teams to the countries. IPL funds everything in Indian cricket, basically. It's worth billions of dollars. BBL apparently is the second largest one. It's a massive difference. It's IPL, daylight, BBL. But all the other countries are trying to put their own ones on, and with this kind of inclusion, I like the fact it reduces the useless international cricket. I really do. We've been looking at a lot of international cricket internally.
I don't want to see them reduce Test cricket, but the other two, I'm not interested.
That's those useless ones where it's just like, we're going to go do a tour of... Australia's going to go do a tour of wherever and do 5 T20s and 5 ODIs.
Well, this series that they're in at the moment, this 2020 series against the West Indies, is a complete waste of time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then over to cricket, we have a new golf. I'll finish with cricket. Over to golf. We have a new Tiger Woods. Apparently, I hate this comparison.
Yeah, it's a bit much, isn't it?
Yeah. So Scottie Scheffler's won his fourth.
Yeah.
Fourth major. By the way, guys, Tiger Woods won 15.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods has won his... Scottie Scheffler has won his fourth major, winning the British Open. And now everyone's all on the... he's going to be the next Tiger Woods. He's young, right?
Yeah, I think he's only 29, Scottie Scheffler, which is very young in golf terms.
Yeah, so you can go play golf until you're like 90 and be competitive, right?
So, well done to Scottie Scheffler. That's
29 years old, yeah.
Yeah, so that comes after he won the PGA Championship earlier this year as well, so it's his second major of the year. His fourth overall, as you mentioned. But I guess comparing him to Tiger Woods... that's a bit much, given that, as you said, Tiger Woods has won 15 majors and Scheffler's won 4.
Yeah,
so he's got a way to go to be getting into Tiger Woods territory.
So this is the thing, right? Tiger Woods' 14th major was in 2008, US Open. That was when he was, trying to calculate age here, 2008.
So what is he now? He's 49. So 17 years ago... He would have been 32.
Yeah.
But then he won in 2019, the Masters, number 15. And so he's 49 now. That was 2019.
6 years ago. So when he was
43, he was winning a major. So there you go.
Scottie Scheffler can go on this big run over the next 13 years and win 15 majors. But guys, it's just won 4. Let's just calm it down.
It's like tennis, and we'll get to our mate Jannik Sinner in a second, but... I think the comparisons of Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz to the big three just told you horses.
Yeah, they did win 4 each.
Yeah, well, they did. Well, the big three won 20. Well, Federer 20, Nadal 22, Djokovic 24. So,
hey, Djokovic is still going. Have one.
Yeah, that's the thing. Djokovic. He probably won't, but he could add to his 24. But yeah, so Alcaraz has won. 5 majors.
That's it.
And I think Sinner's 4, but I will double check that.
Yeah, Alcaraz has won.
I think Sinner's just won his 4th.
I think the thing was Alcaraz has
won. He has just won his 4th.
Alcaraz has won 5 before any of the other big 3 age-wise or something as well.
But someone else could come along and take all of them away.
It's too early.
Like Djokovic did to Federer and
Think
Nadal.
of it like this. When you get to 20 in tennis or when you get to like 12 in golf, that's when you can start going, whoa, he's the next Tiger Woods, Like, he's only 3 behind Tiger Woods. Well, actually, we'll say 19 in tennis. Not many people get to 19 majors.
Not many get to, not many get to 15. Not many get to 10,
not many get to 5.
Scottie Scheffler.
Well done.
Jannik
it's awesome.
Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz have got a way to go, but well done to... Well done to Scottie Scheffler there, winning the British Open.
And millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And finally, we'll go on to which one was it? Wimbledon champion.
Yes.
Jannik Sinner has rehired the coach that he sacked because it was all his fault that Jannik Sinner took drugs.
Yeah, well, that's right. He quickly dismissed... Umberto Ferrara, his name is. And Nick Kyrgios led a wave of outrage, although this time we're agreeing with Nick Kyrgios.
Justified outrage?
Yeah, his controversial high-performance coach, Umberto Ferrara, has returned to his team. This was after Ferrara was sacked by Jannik Sinner after that very likely story where you'd never believe it. The massage cream got into his system somehow from a massage, and he became...
They changed it to spray recently as well, by the way, just so you know. It was cream, now it was spray.
Oh, okay, yeah. I couldn't...
Makes it even more believable.
I couldn't keep up with the story. Sorry about that.
Makes it even more believable. It went from being a cream to a spray, yep.
Yeah.
I think it's probably because they realised that it doesn't come in as cream or something, and they were like, no, we went spray. I don't know if it comes in a cream or what, but it's heaps sus.
When you're making up a story, it is hard to keep track of
it's heaps sus that it went from being a cream to a spray, by the way, just so you know. And then, just full rehired him.
He's the fitness coach. This guy rehired 12 months after he was cut loose. Unbelievable.
So it totally reads to everyone in the entire world that it was like, bro, we're going to throw you under the bus, but don't worry, we'll bring you back later. Can you take the fall for it? Here's a whole bunch of money and severance. Just you can do it, right, bro? Yeah. And he's just gone, yeah, man, I'll take the fall. I'll go to prison for 12 months. You're giving me the money, my salary anyway. It's fine.
Yeah. So this is their big story that they came up with. So the official findings of the controversial doping investigation published by WADA found Ferrara, this is the guy, was in possession of the banned substance clostebol, and was the person who supplied the spray you talk about.
Spray.
To Naldi, which was his physiotherapist, to help him treat a cut on his hand. Mm-hmm. According to WADA's findings, Naldi then massaged Sinner without wearing gloves when traces of the banned substance were still on his skin. So if you can believe that...
Yeah, when they asked
old mate,
asked him, why did you have it? He wouldn't tell them why. But as a professional athlete who gets tested, you don't want any of your coaches to have anything illegal.
Yeah, that's right. And Paul McNamee, Australian tennis great, former Australian Open chief executive, he was blown away. He said, it's got to be up there as one of the most astonishing PR moves in tennis history. He says, you can afford to hire anyone in the world. Why, Jannik? Why would you do this? Can afford anyone in the world. It makes you start thinking that, is tennis becoming like cycling?
Yes.
I hate to say it because I love tennis, but you can't put your head in the sand on these things. Is it becoming like cycling? And you know what? Is it going to contribute to an apathetic attitude towards tennis from now on? From now on, you might go, oh, well, do I really want to watch this if the guy who's winning every second major is a doper?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say, but cycling was, and is probably still, everyone was on drugs, everyone knew it, and everyone didn't care until Lance Armstrong got caught.
Yeah.
Right? Tennis is... I highly doubt everyone is on drugs and everyone knows it. And that's the big difference between tennis and something like cycling, actually. I'm just thinking right now, what I think the problem with tennis is not that all of the athletes are on drugs and all of them know they're all on drugs and all of them just hide it and it's just a thing where they just, ignore it. I think tennis is what is the organisation called?
ATP.
ATP.
The men's is ATP, the women's is WTA.
Well, I think those two organisations are the issue here. In tennis, apparently the organisation didn't... I mean, not in tennis. In cycling, apparently the organisation didn't know. Just all the athletes knew. All of the athletes knew that that everyone was on drugs and how to do it, and they would share all their... how to hide it. But in tennis, what you have now is just ridiculously inconsistent rulings depending on the value of the athlete. And if you liken it to something like, imagine, just to liken it to something more close to home that's more popular in Australia, if Jonathan Thurston and Andrew Johns both tested positive to drugs and were given, 1 month bans in the off season, but then someone like what's his name, the Dragons guy, King Tongia, had got copped 2 years for the same thing, because that's what it's like. That's what the problem with tennis is. It's not that everyone is on drugs and everyone knows about it and everyone ignores it. It's that Swiatek and Sinner are both like number one. Oh, Sabalenka's number one, right?
Yeah, I'll need to check that.
But a high-ranking, high-value people in the league who have won majors, and so the tennis organizations don't want to like strip them, so they let them get away with murder, as opposed to some of the lower-ranked players in recent history that have been pinged. Who was it? There was the Australian guy. I was going to say Millman. It's not Millman. Thompson. No, not Thompson. Purcell, who just got done recently, who copped a massive ban, yeah?
Yeah, so Arena Sabalenka is number one in the women's. Iga Swiatek is number 3.
Yeah, so Max Purcell has taken an 18-month ban.
Yeah.
But it's because he hasn't won majors.
Yeah.
And the organisation isn't supporting the drugs. So, but I actually think that's worse. Okay? So to answer your original question about is tennis another cycling, I actually think it's worse. Because with cycling, the organisation can say, sorry, we were completely ignorant, just like the Olympics have, or did with Russia. We were completely ignorant. It was systematic. They rorted us, and now we're going to clean it up. With tennis, the organisation can't say that. The organisation, the only thing the organisation can do is admit that, hey, we treat higher ranked players differently than lower ranked players. Yeah. And we're not going to do that. And wait, it's us. Hold on. Oh, crap. What are they going to do? So I think tennis is actually in a worse state than cycling ever was. Yeah. Because of that. Cycling had an out. It's all the athletes' fault. Tennis doesn't. Tennis is, they just have to admit that the organisation are wrong.
Yeah, and I noticed Andy Roddick was a big defender of Jannik Sinner when all this came out, and he said that people who were critical of Jannik Sinner and weren't believing his story, Andy Roddick said, these people don't know what they're talking about, they wouldn't have a clue, basically. So I'd like to see how Andy Roddick's going to defend this latest development, rehiring the same member of his team who was responsible for him being caught doping. Let's see how you spin this one, Andy. Yeah. I haven't looked at his podcast recently, I'm sure he'll find some way of spinning this, because he's the chief executive officer of the Jannik Sinner fan club.
It's nonsense. But anyway, Jannik Sinner continues to win majors and continues to make a mockery out of tennis. That's it for the week. Ugh, I don't want to watch rugby league this weekend. Who are the Dragons playing?
They have
a really hard one, like the Raiders, yeah?
No, they've got the Cowboys.
Oh, that's right, yeah. In Cowboy land.
In Townsville, yeah. It'd just be nice for the Bulldogs to get a win that's not so stressful. The last two have been, edge of your seat, sort of right down to the wire thrillers, but that might be asking a bit much, because they seem to win that way every week, it seems, at the moment. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. That'll be good out there on Sunday. 30 years since that 95 team came from outside the top 4 to win the premiership, and they beat Manly in the grand final that year. So a nice little 30-year reunion type thing going on there on Sunday. Yep.
Well, that's it for the week. Don't forget to go to Optimum CBD for all your CBD needs. Must be over 18 to order. Orders over $99. Get free delivery. All your recovery, gummies, oils, everything like that. It helps with recovery and inflammation. And, of course, if you train in any sport, keeping your washing clean and not smelling can be a massive issue. So go to guramicleaning.co and buy yourself some Gear Guard. Just add a capful to every wash, and your clothes will come out smelling like nothing. That's my favourite thing about it. They come out smelling like nothing. Some of those other ones I tried, they smell like chemicals or flowers. I don't want chemicals or flowers. nothing. That's it for the week. All right, mate. Dan, see you next week.
Thanks, Sean. We'll catch you next week.